Huzzah! Welcome to As the Brazos Falls. I'm TK and I'm here with Pat. Hey Pat.
Hey TK.
How's it going?
Doing well, lady.
Awesome. Alright, we're going to start a new segment that's called
Casting Back.
This is where we will revisit previous episodes. If we have questions, we want to add more content, things like that. This round, the reason why we are going to dive into the bridge that collapsed in 1922, and I had spoke with a couple locals. We got some recordings that we want to share with y'all a little bit later, but Pat's going to fill us in. If you haven't listened to the first bridge episode, it's our episode number 3. Go and take a listen, but Pat is going to give a little breakdown about the bridge that collapsed in 1922.
Hey TK, 30-second wind up here. So, May 1922, the Brazos River giant bridge that connects Marlin to the rest of the Brazos Valley. Brazos River is at flood stage for whatever reason. 2 pickup trucks, 2 Ford pickup trucks, by the way, I want to add, along with most of the prestigious citizens of the city of Marlin, to include the mayor, the doctor, and Reverend Knickerbocker. Gotta love that name. We're on the bridge. Bridge collapsed. 8 people lost their lives. We think, as best as we can tell, as TK will fill you in, we found some conflicting information on this. Do want to add that the body of J.W. Briggs, 7-year-old boy, may or may not have been recovered. We've received some conflicting information on that. And unfortunately, I have to point out that it seems like with most of our Central Texas mysteries of the earliest 20th century, there is yet another unnamed black person that died, and no one bothered to record their death.
Yeah, unfortunately, that seems to happen a lot with some of these tales from around Falls County. I'm sure from around the South, especially back in the day and in 1922 when this bridge collapsed. Yeah, it's incredibly sad. But like Pat said, we did have some information, and I got a couple of recordings from locals, so 2 locals, Mike and Sue. So bear with us as we play it from our phone, and we will check this out, you know, later on and try to incorporate this a little bit more into our episode, because it's coming from the street, or from locals on the street. So like I said, bear with the recording, because I basically was at the store, saw these guys, pulled my phone out, and hit record.
So hey, if you're a local with some tea, hit TK up.
Yes, please get with me. Okay, so here we go. So right there, you can hear Sue at the end. I don't know if it was very clear, but she said if they would have jumped in a raft, they would have been dead.
That makes so much sense, DK. I always thought that that account was just strange. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and you heard her talk about Dr. Allen's wife, which that will be an episode, future episode later, the Allen house. I would like to do it. And maybe, you know, we'll see. We can even go there, probably.
We have to go.
I went to a 90-year-old's birthday party there, and it was awesome, dude. It was all catered. You can rent this house for parties.
Is that where you want us to throw your 90th?
Yeah, please, please.
You got it.
So, I really appreciate Sue and Mike. That was the first time I had recorded somebody like that. I talked way too much, but I was trying to guide her because they were at work and we were rushing it. But we will take time later, and I will make sure my recordings are a little bit more clear and maybe not so much of me talking since y'all hear me on here. But, yeah, so I do want to thank Sue and Mike. I thought that was pretty cool, and it's something different, a different view. Also, we were wondering, where was the next crossing, bridge crossing? We talked about how when that bridge collapsed, the closest one was Waco, right? And then where would people go? So some people said that they used to actually drive over the falls. Not during this because it was raging.
I have heard that before, TK. That is so interesting.
Yeah,
they say that.
It was low enough to where they would drive their cars really slow.
I walked across it. I'm sure you have as well.
Definitely, but then it's just like pasture on the other side, but who knows what it looked like back then, you know?
So I guess during the right season, that's probably not inconceivable. I'm sure there are large stretches of time where that is not a possibility. The fields are muddy, the river's raging, but... So
during that time, when the river is raging, guess where do you think the next bridge would be? Do you know that area very well, going
not well enough to make an educated guess on that.
So Calvert. There was a bridge.
Calvert? How far away was that?
Calvert. It's, Calvert is like, from Marlin, maybe like 30 minutes. Driving-wise.
Like south on 77, right?
Calvert is like...
Southeast on 77?
From my house, I would go like the back way, hit Highway 6, and it's off of Highway 6 right there.
They don't know where you live, TK.
Okay, so Calvert's like between Marlin and College Station.
Okay, so southeast, yeah.
On Highway 6.
And that's a good stretch.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure... I mean, Mike is the one, he didn't tell me on the recording, but he was the one that told me this. So it was coming from him and his family. So this isn't like I saw it, you know,
so that
on TextDot or
something. No wonder. I was amazed that in, you know, the summer of 1922 that they were able to put up a temporary bridge as quickly as they did. I think it was, what, 9 months?
Yeah, that took a long time because I was like, oh, how quick did they put up that pontoon thing?
That's pretty fast.
And he goes, pontoon thing, they used the falls to cross after that when the water died down. And I was like, oh, well, they said they had a pontoon, you know, basically to take the cars across, like a little ferry system. And he was like, no. But it probably did happen. It just wasn't something that was prevalent to his family. You know what I mean? Because there were other accounts of that. So maybe they were like, screw that bridge. We're staying over here.
Yeah, there were several accounts of the pontoon system. So I don't question that necessarily.
But it is cool. I mean, his family maybe said, screw it. We're just going to use the falls. And when we can't cross, we can't cross.
I mean, that's a very Falls County thing to do, right?
Yeah, totally. And or maybe they're like,
God made us a bridge. We don't need another one.
Or I'm not going to worry about crossing. I'm just going to stay on this side of the river. Because they're, you know, I don't know if College Station was big at that time. I mean, I think College Station is only a little bit further than Waco from Marlin.
Probably, you're right.
It's like maybe 15 minutes.
One and a half a dozen the other.
Yeah. Well, I think it takes like an hour to get there. Anyways, yeah, so this was to kind of test out our little new segment. Do you have anything else to add, Pat?
Okay, I'm still obsessing about the clothes.
Okay.
I'm still obsessing about the clothes and why people were parking trucks on top of a bridge that was under repair.
I didn't hear that.
I did not get these things out of my head.
That's exactly what they're saying did not happen. These two folks, I'm not saying everybody, but these are two locals. They specifically say there was no workers, that both of their families said no workers were there. The mayor and Dr. Allen and them went down there to see the water level. There was no damage to the bridge at this time. I am wondering, hear me out on this, hear me out on this. I'm wondering, could there have been a second accident when they started building the new bridge? And that's where there's conflicting things. Because the two locals, different families, they're not together. This isn't a couple or anything. You know, and they're both from Marlin. They both say, no, nothing was happening to the bridge. The flood is what damaged the bridge. At that point, the bridge was gone. And that's what these people are saying. Now, the pillars were there, and they say that, and that's down there. So I'm like, I understand what the newspaper was saying, but it makes sense that, like, that account might not be about, I don't know.
I mean, I'm not putting 100% faith in the Associated Press of 1922.
In Pennsylvania, right? Is that where it was or something?
That was one of them. Of course, the El Paso Herald was the other. Of course, that's a really long way away.
Yeah.
But
I played the telephone game. I know how it I know.
True, right?
I know what happened.
And your friend, and your friend, and your
friend.
friend.
They try to save them, and I'm sure they want to make this seem like a heroic story.
Right,
or tale.
like sales papers,
yeah,
right?
But the fact is that it was horrific. People fell in, they died. I mean, this was, I haven't heard of something happening like that in Falls where so many people that meant a lot to the community at once and just like no warning, which actually makes sense, Pat. These smart people didn't go down there when there's barricades and like there's work being done. They were maybe a little smarter than that. And just went to see the water level because they're in charge of this fucking town. And they're like, hey, let me go and make sure that...
It is possible.
Let me see, do we need to close this bridge down because, hey, the water's getting crazy. And they go down there, and then boom. That makes a lot more sense to me with educated people.
The doctor, the mayor, and the reverend?
Yes, and it was the mayor's wife, and I think the mayor's children, but I'm not... Oh, no,
well, there
was
children. A Mrs. Ed Mosley.
Visiting somebody, yeah.
Who was visiting. Her body was recovered.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, it makes a lot more sense that these smart people that are in charge of this town go down there to assess the flooding to see if they need to do something. And this is all my speculation in TK brain. And it's like, oh, hey, let's go see. Do we need to shut this bridge down? And then boom, the water takes out the bridge. People can't cross, and there's dead people. That makes a lot more sense, especially two separate accounts from locals that don't... The only connection they really have is that, yes, they grew up in the same town.
I think Charles P. Hippa, because the El Paso Herald documented his name, was driving a truck that went crashing through the timbers of the structure. I just find it hard to believe that they would have documented the action that didn't happen and attach someone's name to it. I can't reconcile those two things.
But what do you mean? Okay, can you say that again?
So sensationalizing is one thing, but then attaching sensationalism to a specific person's name.
Okay, what did he say about it? What did he say? Repeat.
He was driving a truck across the bridge and went crashing through the timbers and was rescued after his truck went plunging into the river.
Okay, I don't know about the rescue part, but I am saying this. They did say that trucks went into the river when the people were on the bridge, too. So could that have been at the same time?
Seems reasonable.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, I mean, I know we're not going to really
ever know. I still don't understand why people are parked on...
I don't think they were parked. I think the trucks were on there.
Driving.
Yes.
They were just driving across the bridge.
I think they were driving, like that guy said, his grandpa was waiting to cross. So obviously they probably let one car and the other, 2 cars at a time or something, and that's it.
Oh, well, that's another really good point.
And then the people...
probably a narrow bridge.
Yeah.
And probably was 1 car.
1 or 2, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying 2 trucks on the bridge, you know, people trying to cross, and then they're walking on it just to go check it out. Because if there were thousands of people down there, there would have been a lot more people that died.
Okay, at least give me this one, TK. If they had been dressed other than in layers and layers and layers of...
I want to give you that.
And eye hooks and tiny little...
I do think they would have had a better chance, but if I've seen it raging, and I don't know if they would have made it. No matter what. I've been in a swimsuit and, like, had dangerous things happen to me in the Texas rivers. 2 times.
That is fair.
Once I had to save Amy. She fell into a hole that was sucking her in the river. And luckily I got my ground and I was able to, like, pull her back. But, like, we were in swimwear, you know? So I'm just saying, I do hear what you're saying. It probably weighed it down, and honestly, it probably made their death a lot faster. Which, in their case, was probably a good thing.
Maybe. I just always want to fight, right? And I know what you're saying.
No, but I love that.
I've had the holy crap scared out of me at Gardner State Park. in the Frio River.
They're very
I
powerful.
mean, I got stuck under a waterfall and I was just in perpetual spin. If I
Yeah.
hadn't gotten my foot out there to kick myself out of that forest, I'd have drowned.
Well, that's kind of what I wonder too about, like when they went. So the bridge is upstream from the falls, right?
Yes.
So they would have floated to the falls, and I wonder if some of them maybe got caught under that. So even if they were able to hold their heads up, when they get to that point, I'm sure that it was
And if the
a
river
done
becomes more shallow, you're more likely to slam your head or be slammed into things.
That wouldn't have happened there because when it's raging, it is raging right there. There's no crossing it. There's no walking across it during that time. I've seen it where you can't. So, but I think further down the river, it does get shallow. And Pat and I are actually going to go kayaking sometime there.
Very quickly.
Yeah, with my, our buddy from 1912 Coffee in Marlin. They're a CBD coffee shop.
Shout out to 1912.
Yeah, my buddy Mike is going to take us kayaking, and we're going to do the float from the bridge to the falls. So, but actually, lately, the river has been pretty crazy. So, and we might...
March in Texas, baby.
Yeah, right? We might mention it when we do go kayaking at some point, I'm sure, on one episode. But we have some new stuff coming out. We're working on getting some more of these, like, casting back episodes where, like, we reflect on the previous episodes. We're also going to do some type of mini-sode that we're going to come up with. We're not sure about that yet. Pat, what are you thinking on that?
We will definitely start posting corrections as people bring them to our attention. Please don't hesitate.
Yeah.
We don't want to get it wrong, and if we do, we want to know it, and we want to set the record straight.
I mean, we have fun doing this. We do thank y'all for bearing with us. I think we're getting a little bit better each episode. It's a lot harder than you think, or that I thought, to do a podcast.
Right? It seems like an hour a week. You hang out with your friends
Yeah.
and chit-chat.
No.
How hard could that be?
There's a lot that goes into this, and we want to be more consistent as well. So, you know, we're trying to do weekly right now. It might go every other week for a while. We all have lives. This isn't our job, even though it would be cool, but it's not our jobs. So, we just try to
So
get
far,
as
this
much...
job has cost us collectively, like, I don't even know how much money.
Yeah, so, you know, if you want to do a podcast, think about a lot of different angles.
It's a passion of the heart, I'll say that much, because we're so far in the red on
Yeah.
this project.
But it is fun. We do enjoy it, and we're going to try to develop some things a little bit more and get better for you guys. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We really, really want to talk to locals. We know that there are local individuals around that have written historic books, things like that. That's awesome. We would love to promote them, but
Creepy tales, scandalous rumors, bring it all.
we are mostly looking for, like, your grandma, your aunt, your whatever, your neighbor that used to tell you about so-and-so or this story in
If your
town.
grandma pours sherry on her ice cream and tells great tales when she gets a little tipsy,
Yeah.
definitely hook us up.
Totally. That's what we're looking for. We want the word on the street. And, yeah. So, with that being said, we really appreciate you guys tuning in to our first little segment called...
Casting away.
All right.
Back. Casting back.
Casting Back. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
That was 3 takes, and I had to open a beer for each take. Forgive me. Bye, y'all.